Hello everyone, welcome to another video. This video is going to cover the second match of Shogo Orita's professional entrance exam. And as some of you might know, just yesterday on February 25th, Orita played his fourth match with 5th Dan professional Kei Honda. And congratulations to Orita, but he did win the match, and therefore he did pass the exam, becoming the third amateur player to become a professional through this system, and the fourth amateur player in history to become a professional without going through Shorekai. We might talk about the significance of this in another video, and of course we're going to cover the fourth match as well as the first match. But in the meantime, let's take a look at the second match, which is against 4th Dan Taiyo Deguchi. Deguchi is a very accomplished player, and he did have a very good reputation during his semi-professional years as one of the brightest players. Everybody expected him to become a 4th Dan professional, and he's doing well once he has become a professional. So let's see how this match goes. So the match opens with Orita playing black and Deguchi playing white, and black plays pawn to 2-6, announcing a static rook opening, and then white plays pawn to 8-4, which announces a mutual static rook. So pawn to 2-5, pawn to 8-5, gold to 7-8, gold to 3-2, silver to 3-8, silver to 7-2, and king to 6-8. So what's interesting is that in modern mutual static rook openings, sometimes black won't exchange the 2-4 pawn early in the game, which is, it's an evolution of the way professionals think about pawn exchanges. So I believe it was prior to the introduction of software, professionals just took it as a given that it's always better to exchange pawns where possible. But after software came in and the engines told humans that, in fact, sometimes it's worth waiting, professionals learned to decide more judiciously when they want to exchange the pawns. So in this opening, Orita is basically stalling the second file pawn exchange and instead spending the moves on advancing his formation. So king to 4-2, pawn to 7-6, and then of course white exchanges the pawn at 8-6, pawn captures, rook captures, and then black also exchanges the pawn here, so pawn to 2-4, pawn captures, rook captures, pawn up to 2-3, and then a rook going back to 2-6. And then now comes rook to 8-2, and pawn drop to 8-7 defending, and then pawn to 3-4. So still a very kind of mirror opening, basically. So pawn to 3-6, pawn to 6-4, silver to 3-7, and silver to 6-3, and then pawn to 3-5. Pawn captures, and then silver to 4-6. So this is quite a natural progression, wielding the right side silver, and white is basically here asked to plan a defense as well as a counterattack. So white begins with silver to 5-4, and then after silver captures on 3-5, bishop exchange on 8-8, silver captures back, and silver to 2-2. So this basically allows white to defend the second file and also potentially mount a counterattack in future. Now, there were several possible moves here for black, and Orita might have planned the game to this point, and probably the next move was something that he planned. So here I would like you to pause the video and think about Orita's next move. Here we're entering the middle game, and the next move is about how to plan the middle game. So think about what Orita did, and then also think about what a more conventional variation would look like. So if you did find Orita's move, then congratulations, you can think like someone taking the professional exam. And also if you did find the more conventional options, then again, congratulations, you're very well informed with openings in general. So Orita's move was a bishop drop to 7-7. And this was quite an unusual move in that while the aim is pretty clear, namely you're trying to attack the second file of the white's defense, it's a rather simplistic aim as well, and it's easy for white to prevent it. And it's not really clear how the bishop is going to function after white defends the second file further. But another move which is more conventional is knight to 7-7. And the idea here is that if white pushed, let's say, the 7-4 pawn, taking aim at the knight, then black will move pawn to 8-6. And then after this, black can form a silver crown castle, while white would probably plan an attack from the 7th file, 8th file, possibly also attacking the right side as well. And this is an ordinary progression. It can go in many directions, but the advantage here for black is that black gets to keep the bishop, so the options are more open. Another option would have been silver to 7-7. This is perfectly natural too, but in the actual game it was bishop to 7-7. So let's see how the game progresses. Again, if white moved something like pawn to 7-4, then black's aim is to go for pawn to 2-4. So in this variation, you would see something like pawn captures, and then a pawn drop on 2-3, gold captures, and silver advances to 2-4, gold captures, rook captures, pawn drop to 2-3, and then rook to 5-4, pawn captures back, and then bishop captures on 2-2. So this is a little bit too straightforward. Professionals will never allow this to happen, but you can see that black controls the majority of the metallic pieces, as well as promoting a knight there. And the rook really doesn't have much to contribute from white's point of view. A rook drop on 2-8 would be easily defended with a silver drop on 3-8. So this would clearly be to black's advantage. So yeah, instead of actually, this is the only move that would prevent that attack. So white rockets the rook to 8-5, and black retreats to 4-6. So again, if black tries to attack in the same way, then white can capture the silver general on 3-5, and then after pawn promotion and silver captures back, bishop captures on 1-1, and then let's say a bishop drop on 1-5. This is a sample progression, so rook to 5-6, silver to 4-8, lands just 3-6, silver captures on 4-9, pawn on 3-7 defending, and rook to 2-5. So yes, I mean black can capture back a gold general, but I mean white. It looks like white can actually promote the rook, and black is, to be honest, out of pieces, and the attacking horse is not doing a very good job. So this is a better job. This is a better game for white. So yeah, instead of allowing the capture on 3-5, black retreats to 4-6. White plays pawn to 7-4, and black pushes pawn to 8-6. White retreats again to 8-2, and then here comes silver to 8-7. Gold to 6-2, gold to 3-8, knight to 7-3, and then a rook to 3-6. So this was black's vision when black first dropped the bishop on 7-7. And the idea is that white can only drop a pawn on 3-3 here, which is an interesting constraint. However, once that's done, basically the bishop has done its job, and now black's task is to make sure the bishop doesn't just kind of wither away on the 7-7 square. So let's see how black tries to wield the bishop further. So black pushes pawn to 9-6, white pushes pawn to 9-4, and then black sidles the king to 5-8. White plays pawn to 1-4, pawn to 1-6, rook to 8-1, and then a knight to 3-7, king to 5-2. So when we look at this progression, white is basically making sure black has no attacking plan, and white is succeeding at this point. So black's challenge is to come up with an alternative attacking plan. So again, here I would like you to take a look at the board as a whole, pause the video, and see what kind of plan black might have and what the next move would be. So this is quite a tricky next move, but if you did find the right move, then congratulations, you are a very good player. So the move in the game was rook to 2-6, and this was really the key moment. So let's look at the alternatives before rook to 2-6. So one alternative is to actually bring back the king into the castle with king to 6-8. So here the idea would be to castle the king deeper and then plan an attack from the right side. However, this would lead to king to 4-2, king to 5-8, king to 5-2, and then maybe a silver to 5-5. And the problem here is that even though the king could go to 6-8 and then 7-9, that would create bishop drop options for white. So in the end, after silver to 6-3, king to 6-8, king to 4-2, it kind of looks like it's a stalemate, and black doesn't have a clear attack plan here. Another idea is to move the bishop to 8-8, and this is actually what the engine suggests. But after this, king to 6-8, and then silver to 5-5, it's fine. But again, it does feel like black is made to attack, and white is efficiently countering without spending any of its pieces. So again, not so sure if black is comfortable doing this. So in the actual game, we see rook to 2-6, and white responds with pawn to 3-4. Rook goes back to 3-6, and then a silver to 3-3. So black basically wanted white to make this kind of move so that there is a possible attack plan, and indeed black at this point attacks. But in the actual game, black attacks with pawn to 7-5, and Orita afterwards made a short video reflecting on the game, and he said that this move basically decided the game in favor of white. So this was a kind of a fatal mistake on black's part. And the more superior alternative would have been pawn to 3-5. But then after pawn captures, silver captures, and then king to 6-3. Let's say pawn to 3-4, and then silver to 2-2. Silver to 4-6, king to 5-2, silver to 4-5, silver to 6-3, rook to 2-6, or pawn promotion to 3-3, silver captures, knight jump. I mean, this kind of progression looks quite promising for black in that the knight is wielded, the silver is on the fifth row, and the bishop is doing a very good job just taking aim at that diagonal. So this would have been a much superior progression, just focusing on the third file. But instead, black opened fire with pawn to 7-5. And yeah, in retrospect, Orita admitted that he didn't quite think carefully about the progression after this move. So let's see how white counters this effectively, because on the face of it, it looks like attacking the knight is a very serious threat for white. So let's see how white handles this. So white captures back with pawn to 7-5, and then of course a pawn drop on 7-4 attacking the knight, and then knight jumps to 6-5, bishop goes to 8-8, and then a pawn push to 7-6, again making sure the knight is wielded. Black can't capture back this pawn because then the rook will come up to 8-6. So therefore black pushes the pawn on 6-6, but then pawn promotion on 7-7, knight captures back, and then a bishop capture, and rook goes to 7-1, now taking aim on the 7th file. Pawn push on 5-6, opening up the king as well as potential diagonals in the future, and then rook goes to 7-4, and then a pawn drop on 7-6. So you can see that at this point black's bishop is completely dead basically. So this is clear, at this point the game is clearly swinging in white's favor. So white pushes on 4-4 and black pushes pawn to 5-5, but then the silver goes back to 4-3. So white is shifting gears again. The slower the game, the better for white basically, because the pieces are doing a much better job compared to black. So black is here forced to try and mount a second line of attack, and it's proving very challenging. So here's a change in plans. Black retreats to 5-7, and then king goes to 4-2, and black pushes the pawn to 8-5, trying to use that bishop. King goes to 3-1, and then a pawn push on 5-4, pawn captures, pawn push on 7-5, rook captures, and then a bishop wielding to 8-6. Rook goes back to 7-4 again, and then a pawn push on 6-5. However, king goes to 2-2, avoiding that diagonal, and an edge pawn push on 1-5. So again, black is made to attack at this point, and if you look at how the kings defended, it's pretty clear that even at this point, white's defense is much superior to black's, and white still has the bishop in reserve. So this is a clear winning game for white. But let's see how a professional manages to turn a good game into a winning game. So white captures back, and then black wields the bishop on 6-4. However, a pawn drop on 7-7, and it's really, you can't really do much with this pawn drop. So in the actual game, the gold went down to 7-9, but let's say the gold went to 6-8, you'd still see a pawn drop on 6-7, and then after gold retreating to 6-9, a bishop drop on 7-8 would basically decide the game. So instead, black just simply retreated the gold to 7-9. However, a simple knight drop on 5-5, and the 6-7 square is not defended well. So black opts for a knight drop on 5-9, but then a bishop drop on 7-8. And then after silver runs away, rook captures the silver, rook captures, and then a silver drop on 6-7. King goes to 4-8, and white captures the rook on 7-6. So black captures the bishop, white drops the pawn on 6-3. And here, again, it's kind of interesting how instead of just capturing back the gold, white prioritizes getting that bishop out of the way. This is very, this is a very good kind of switch in mentality. So at this point, we're entering the end game. So we want to make sure that material advantage is not necessarily prioritized. So black drops the pawn on 1-2, lance captures back, and then captures the lance on 9-1, and then white captures the gold general here, and black continues the edge attack with pawn drop on 1-3, lance captures back, rook drop on 7-1, and knight promotion on 6-7, knight captures and gold captures back, knight jump to 2-5, gold drop on 6-1, and again, it's at this point black is completely losing, and the only question is how can we make the game as ambiguous as possible. So black captures the pawn here with the rook, which is a terrible material disadvantage, but after gold captures back, you can actually kind of distract white's attack for a while. So black uses that pawn to continue the edge attack here, knight drop on 2-6, and silver goes up to 2-4, knight captures on 1-4 check, king goes back to 3-1, and then a bishop drop on 9-7, a knight drop on 5-3 defending, and then a pawn push on 6-4. So again, black is out of resources, but at least black is succeeding in making this game look like a close tie. But in reality, white is winning completely. So silver captures on 2-5, pawn promotes, gold captures back, and then a lance drop on 6-6. Rook drop on 6-9, threat mate, and rook drop on 6-9. It's not a threat mate, but it's a pretty good rook drop. Lance captures on 6-3, and then rook drop on 4-9 check. King goes to 3-7, and a knight drop on 4-5. King goes to 4-6, and then rook captures on 6-3. Lance drop on 6-5. Knight captures on 5-7, and after lance capturing the dragon on 6-3, the promoted knight, the gold general, sidles to 4-7, and at this point, black resigned the game. So from here, it's just a simple checkmate. So if gold captures, then a lance drop on 4-5, and then after king going to 5-7, white captures the gold general, and then drops that gold general on 6-5 with checkmate. And if the king goes to 5-6 instead, then simply a silver drop and then a rook promotion, and there's nowhere the black king can go. So what this game shows is that although Orita planned his opening moves and kind of carefully calculated to make the bishop drop, there was a little bit of kind of lack of foresight, which basically prevented the bishop from being wielded in the middle game, and this created pressure for black to attack, and white did a great job basically countering the attack. So I hope you enjoyed this video. We will cover the other games too, so please click subscribe, like, and share. Also, if you have feedback on how we might improve our videos, then please feel free to leave a comment and let us know what you think. So thanks for watching. See you next time.